Alright, YouTube, guess what's here today? It is our big bore kit. Let's open this thing up and see what it looks like. I had to start opening it because it was too hard to do with one hand. There it is, guys. Wow, that looks a lot better than I actually would have expected. For the price of this kit, I mean, that machine surface there is smooth as can be. Wow. Well, let's get it opened up here and see what the piston stuff looks like. Alright, so in this kit for roughly, well, with shipping it was $24. We have our cylinder, which inside of it looks really good. I was kind of expecting there to be some burrs. A lot of guys in other videos have said there's burrs around the intake and exhaust ports. This one is really good. There's no lip in there, no issues whatsoever with it. I'm going to run it the way it is. Comes with the wrist pin, the rings, the new piston, and the circlips. These I will not be using. You can kind of see they've got that tail on them. Well, a lot of times that can cause them to come out. So I've ordered the original Stihl ones. So this is the new piston, this is the old piston. See if we can get a shot here of the size difference. Let's line up. It's hard to see on film here, but it is a larger piston, and it doesn't help the rings are on the old one yet. But yeah, it is definitely a larger piston. Now on this you do have the port for a decomp valve. I'm not going to be running one, so I ordered a plug off of eBay. That is here already as well. So everything should be ready to go together. So let's start assembling it. Alright, so we have our piston mounted on our connecting rod and crank. On top of your piston you have an arrow. You want to make sure that arrow is pointing towards your exhaust side. Then on your piston you might not be able to see them. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Yeah, too much glare off of it. There's two locating pins, one here, one here. You want to make sure that your rings are located. The gaps are over those holes. Now you're going to want to make sure of that when you put your new cylinder on. So what we gotta do next is put the seals on the crankshaft. I went and I bought new gasket, new seals from Stihl. So what we'll do, I have a little oil can here. We're just gonna put a little bit of 2-stroke oil to kind of lube those up a little bit so they slide on easier. You don't want to tear them. You don't want to wreck these seals, because these seals, if they're bad, your engine's not going to last long. And basically all you do is, this is the easy side, this one just slides right on, and they don't go tight to the bearing. Let's see if I can hold it up here to show you. Your bearing sits in here, your seal sits in here, and there's this little piece of metal here that sits between them. So you got to make sure that that seal sits in that groove right. On your other side, there is a groove in the crankshaft. And this side's a little bit trickier to get on, from what I've read. because there is a, where this side is nice and tapered for the flywheel, this side is square cut, and then you got this groove here where there's a circlip that sits in there that holds your oiler off of your bearing, or your bushing here, off your oil seal. So what you want to do is, I guess you just want to rotate it, gently push on it until it goes. Boy, it is stubborn. Okay, so what happens, and it happened to me, is you got this little spring that sits down in here. It actually popped that spring out. You want to make sure that spring is in there. Let's try putting a little bit of oil right on this crankshaft. See if that helps out any too. Okay, so we got it past. Now I can see that spring ain't quite sitting in there. Take a real fine screwdriver. We'll see if we can get that spring back up in there where it belongs. You just kind of want to look in between your gap here once you get past that, and rotate it and make sure that it's in there. Now we gotta find our little C-clip. I'll find that. I'll get back with you guys. Alright, so the bad thing about a dark colored workbench is stuff like this blends right in. You don't even see it there. So now this, you just take, push that on there until it snaps into place. Make sure it's seated on there. And now, our crankshaft can be set back in. Now, I did put lube on the needle bearing before I put this piston on. Just used some of my 2-stroke oil. Now, for the cylinder, we have to put a gasket sealant around this edge here all before we put that on. I've already installed my intake boot and my impulse line. And we put the decompression valve plug in because we do not have a decompression valve. Spark plug I just have sitting, and we'll take that out for the time being until we're ready for that. Alright, so what we do is we're just going to put a bead of it on here. And then we'll use our finger and we'll kind of smooth it out and make it fill everything in. You want to make sure to get it in these corners good. There's little troughs there by them seals. You want to make sure to get it in those because that's what makes the seal between your seal and this gasket maker. holes a little bit. Alright, so now that's done. Now you want to take your piston, you want to put lube around your rings and all over your piston here, because you want it to have lubrication as it's going up in this new cylinder. Extra oil does not hurt these engines at all, so make sure you use plenty of it. I think I'm even going to take and smear some on the cylinder walls. Alright, so now we want to get our piston rings, our gaps where they need to be for the locating pins. Try and hold that up a little bit so we have a little bit more room. So this engine, I guess, does not use a ring compressor. So you just kind of slowly push it on. Like that. Just work it down until it's down. And take a small screwdriver. Make sure that those seals are inside the lip of that cylinder. Now we can start putting our cylinder screws in. Where's my screwdriver? Got to put a screwdriver under here, otherwise it'll tip over on us. You have your 4 T27 cylinder screws. Alright, so now that we got the screws started, just tighten them down. I'm just going to go until they're snug, and I'm going to do them in steps. You want to tighten them in a cross pattern. So you want to start here, go here, here, then back up to here. And as you're tightening them down, make sure that this seal stays inside that lip on both sides. So I'll get these tightened down, and we'll get back to you. Alright, so cylinder's down. You can see that a little bit of the gasket maker is squishing out all the way around, so you know it's all the way down. Just tighten them up until they're hand tight. There is a torque spec, but I don't have a way to torque them. I believe it was 9 Newton meters. I just went until they were tight. Now, make sure everything spins over. Spins over really nice, so I know everything is lined up, everything's good. So, now we got to reassemble the rest of it. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to tell you is before you start tightening down your cylinder, get your piston down. You look through your port here. When it's at bottom dead center, so where it stops moving up or down, that's where you want to have that piston, because that's what kind of aligns everything in there. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for this part of the reassembly. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think so far. Alright, we'll catch you next time.